A large area of disturbed weather developed across much of the Caribbean Sea during mid-October 2005, beginning with an unusual low-pressure area across the region. To the southeast of Jamaica, the low-pressure area became more concentrated as wind gradually decreased. On October 15th, the National Hurricane Center designated the system as Tropical Depression 24, while it was located about 350 kilometers southeast of Grand Cayman. Tropical Depression 24 strengthened into Tropical Storm Wilma on October 17th. Over the open waters of the Caribbean Sea, the system intensified into a hurricane in a 30-hour period.
My wife and I arrived on the 12th of October 2005. We're staying at the Moon Palace Hotel, Cancun, an incredible place set in 123 acres of tropical greenery with over a mile of beachfront. 17 swimming pools, 2,500 rooms. We chose this hotel because it's one of the best in the world. At first, we visited all the local resorts and sampled everything the hotel had to offer. We thought that this was going to be a trip to remember.
During its intensification on October 19th, the hurricane's eye shrank to as small as 3.7 kilometers in diameter, becoming the smallest eye ever seen in a tropical cyclone.
By day 4 of the holiday, we noticed some uneasiness in the staff of the hotel. For a few hours they seemed a little worried about something. A weather warning document was posted to every room, just slipped under the door. The notice warned us of a tropical storm that may be heading from the Caribbean. It told us not to worry as the storm was predicted to miss Mexico completely. On the morning of the 5th day of the holiday, the receptionist was warning everyone that the tropical storm had intensified and was heading our way, but was still nothing to worry about. On October the 18th, there was uncertainty whether the storm would hit Mexico or head up the Atlantic coast and just vanish. I was disappointed that I may miss the storm completely, as I found them exhilarating. My wife was pleased, as she did not share my view. After breakfast on the 19th, we were told by the hotel that there was going to be a very strong possibility that the storm was heading our way. This caused panic and people began queuing and shouting at the reception for more information.
Mexican government officials declared a red alert on the evening of Wednesday, October the 19th. Tourists in the resort city of Cancun were told to return to their places of origin or head inland, while those unable to were relocated to designated hurricane shelters throughout the city.
Workmen arrived and began boarding up the ground floor windows, but there was still no sign of bad weather. My wife and I saw hotel guests stealing food from the restaurants and kitchens. At around 5 o'clock, the staff began alerting guests, asking them to evacuate the hotel and go into coaches and trucks and set off to go to what would be hurricane shelters. This announcement that the hotel made for evacuation caused total pandemonium. We spent the next 2 hours deciding to ride out the storm in the hotel. By this time, the winds had intensified into a tropical storm. By 8 o'clock, most of the hotel guests and staff had been evacuated, leaving just a handful of people to ride out what was now thought to be a hurricane. Winds were now so noisy that I could not hear the person next to me speaking. My wife and I both grabbed food where we could from the canteen and made our way out of the hotel into the worst tropical storm we had ever encountered. With the food, we crossed the hotel grounds in incredible rain, winds, and climbed our way back into our first floor apartment. Once we were in the suite, my wife became very quiet and frightened. We both felt totally isolated. She climbed into the bed and stayed there. I waited another couple of hours to see what the storm would do. The storm had built to such an intensity that it sounded like my head was next to a running freight train engine. At about midnight, after checking my wife was still asleep, I ventured outside and looked down towards the ocean. By this time, Hurricane Wilma was at its strongest, so clinging to a pillar, I had a view from what looked to me like a scene from a horror movie. By clinging on by what I thought was of my life at the time, I actually could see things flying through the air, but you could not tell what they were. The wind was trying to rip the shirt from my back.
The number of fatalities in Mexico are unclear due to incomplete records. However, at least 5 people were killed due to a gas explosion caused by the strong winds. 4 deaths were also reported in Cancun due to wind blowing a window out. Another death, caused by a falling tree, was reported. Rainfall amounts in excess of 590 mm were reported in several areas, with Isla Majoras reporting 1,625.6 mm, 5 times the amount that fell during Hurricane Gilbert. Cancun recorded 1,633.98 mm over 24 hours, setting a Western Hemisphere record for the greatest rainfall in that time period. In this period, what later proved to be the highest winds ever were recorded, reaching over 295 km per hour for over 1 minute at a time. One gymnasium used as a shelter lost its roof, which forced the evacuation of more than 1,000 people staying there. During the storm, waves 5 to 8 meters high, enough to reach the 3rd floor of many hotels, slammed against the coastline. The destruction left behind by Wilma in the Yucatan severely damaged the tourist industry there, as the storm affected some of the tourist hotspots in Mexico. Damage in Mexico totals $7.5 billion, of which $4.6 billion was from agricultural damage. The total number of deaths for Hurricane Wilma was 87.
This certainly had been a trip to remember.